Let's start with Operation Crossfire Hurricane, as legacy propaganda media is reporting on it. For those of you who didn't know, there was a recent disclosure of a slew of what had hitherto been two classified documents relating to Operation Crossfire Hurricane, Russiagate hoax. If you haven't, I'm not even going into summarizing what the Russiagate hoax was. Kevin Kleinsmith, FBI attorney, falsifying evidence to submit to a secret FISA court to obtain a spy warrant on Carter Page that they then used to go spy on Donald Trump. Christopher Steele producing the Steele dossier, which the FBI knew was bunk bullcrap. That Steele dossier was given to the FBI by Michael Sussman in a meeting where Sussman then lied to the FBI and said he was not acting for or on behalf of his client, Hillary Clinton, or the DNC, except he actually billed Hillary Clinton and the DNC for the meeting in which he fed it to the FBI the Steele dossier that he knew was bunk so that the FBI could then leak it to the Yahoo News, who would then publish it, and then the FBI would use that publication as a basis to obtain a secret unlawful FISA spy warrant on the Trump campaign at large. That's it in a nutshell if you don't know how egregiously sick and corrupt it was. Michael Sussman, who later faced charges for lying to the FBI, was acquitted in that corrupt, urine-soaked hellhole, pee-pee-soaked heckhole of DC, because they would indict a ham sandwich and convict someone if they wore a red hat and exonerate them if they wore a blue hat. That's the summary, people. This is how Newsweek is reporting it, and you know that it's bad the way Newsweek is reporting it. And I'll tell you how, you'll get to it in a second. When they refuse to tell you how bad it is, and instead they say this is how bad it is according to somebody else who we besmirch, that's when you know how bad it truly is. Donald Trump's Russiagate documents read in full. You can't read them in full because there's hundreds, if not thousands, maybe even more pages. You can't sift through it. It's impossible. But Encryptus, with the help of AI, did, and we're going to break it down and summarize it right now. Hundreds of files documenting the FBI's Russiagate investigation into President Donald Trump's 2016 campaign have been released. The documents from the FBI's Russia probe, known as Crossfire Hurricane, were obtained and published by Just the News and The Federalist after Trump ordered them declassified in late March. Why it matters? Why does it matter? Because it was a coup. It was a junta to unseat a democratically elected president, to tie his hands for the first 3 years of his presidency, and to undermine democracy. It was, you want to call it nonviolent? I call it violent. That was political violence of the highest order. There's a difference between political violence and physical violence. And political violence can be both physical and not physical. That was political violence of the highest order. Why does it matter? Why does it matter? Because the Democrats, the DNC, Hillary Clinton, the FBI, Mueller, that other guy there afterwards, I forget his name now, Durham, were all in on the coup, the junta, and the cover-up. That's why it matters. Trump and his supporters have long alleged that the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation was a, quote, witch hunt, end quote, launched by the president's political opponents. You see how they do it? They're not asserting it as an indisputable matter of fact. They're not even asserting it as a theory. They're asserting it as a theory of the others who they've demonized and besmirched so that you shouldn't take it seriously. The release of these documents could shed new light on the justification. There was none behind the investigation into alleged collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia around the time of the 2016 election. What to know? Crossfire Hurricane was the code name. Okay. On March 25, Trump signed the executive order to declassify materials. Okay. FBI Director Kash Patel later turned over those documents to the House Judiciary Jim Jordan. Just the News, The Federalist said they obtained the documents. By the way, you want to keep pooping on Patel because of the Epstein files? Go right ahead. But give the man credit right now. This is a big delivery. It's not the Epstein files, and we should all be holding their feet to the fire for the Epstein files regardless. This is a big deal. This is a big delivery. This is a big, I don't know if it was a promise, but this is a big transparency commitment honored. So give Kash Patel the credit that he deserves for this. Let's take a brief pause from this video for a word from our sponsor, 1775 Coffee. It is delicious. 1775 and Rumble just launched their first anti-aging coffee, and no, it's not something that's been brewed in Fauci's lab. They made available over 1,000 longevity bundles, blew through most of them, and after watching freedom lovers panic harder than CNN on election night, they extended the sale and added a few more of those bundles, but once this deal is gone, it is gone, much like your trust in the FDA. People, for $99, you're getting over $250 in value, 2 bags of longevity coffee infused with CAAKG to support cellular health and reduce biological age, plus an extra rare Peabody roast that makes up less than 5% of global crops, kind of like honest politicians, and exclusive merch that screams, I don't shop at Target anymore. All of it specialty grade, single origin, small batch. This isn't your sleepy chain store coffee. It is for people who read the food labels and who love when their coffee tastes freaking delicious. And if you believe in America and freedom and not settling for weak corporate nonsense, this coffee is for you. Plus, every dollar you spend gets you entered to win the Tesla Cybertruck plus $30,000 cash. That is 99 entries locked in when you buy the bundle. And with less than a month left, this bundle guarantees you a real shot. Head over to 1775coffee.com/Viva and grab yours before the bundle is gone. Once again, that is 1775coffee.com/Viva. Thank you, 1775, for the sponsor. And now back to the video. More than 700 pages of redacted documents include emails, messages, interviews, and notes on the Steele dossier. A largely debunked, it's not entirely, not totally, not corruptly falsified, it's just largely debunked, suggests there's some parts of it that might still be true. A largely debunked document compiled by former British intelligence officer Christopher Steele that sought to detail allegations of Russia's attempts to interfere in 2016. All bullshit, by the way, all bullshit. Federalist, a conservative online magazine founded in 2013, often referred to the so-called Russiagate as a politically motivated effort to undermine Trump. It was even worse than that. Crossfire Hurricane began after the FBI received a tip that George Papadopoulos, a Trump campaign advisor, had prior knowledge of Russia efforts to release damaging information along 2016 Clinton candidate. The investigation was eventually taken over by special counsel Robert Mueller. In 2019, the Mueller report found no evidence the Trump campaign criminally conspired. They got overthrown the word criminally. Conspired with Russia to interfere in the 2016, but detailed examples of Trump allegedly attempting to obstruct the investigation. Bullshit. William Barr assigned special counsel John Durham to investigate it. Durham highly critical report released in May 2020 said investigation was launched based on, quote, raw, unanalyzed, uncorroborated intelligence and without, quote, actual evidence, end quote, of collusion between Russia and the Trump's team. It's worse than that. I would argue that Durham is part of the cover-up. What people are saying. Sean Davis, co-founder of The Federalist, posted on X, formerly Twitter, these are the Crossfire Hurricane files that Joe Biden, the deep state, and a number of so-called journalists spent years trying to keep them hidden and never wanted anyone to see. Attorney General Pam Bondi said, at my direction, the Department of Justice has already started the process to release these materials, yada, yada, yada. What happens next? It's unclear when the Crossfire Hurricane documents will be officially released by the FBI. Well, we've got a bunch of them. And Encryptus has been breaking them down. And I'll give you, I'll save the cherry on the top of this Corruption Sunday for the end, just to, go over the high level summary of it. It's quite phenomenal. We've broken it down. Encryptus, did you post the summary on our locals community?
I haven't had time to do that. I will be doing that after the show.
Okay, good. Everyone, if you want to go there and get it, you can join our community and follow Encryptus. It's one of the free, this is open for everybody. This is not behind any paywall for supporters only. And you're getting the overview right now. One of the major revelations, they knew that Steele was an unreliable CHS, a confidential human source. They knew that Christopher Steele was unreliable. They knew that he had previously, broken any rule. He broke rules. He violated instructions not to talk to the press. He'd been formally closed as a confidential human source. He had been flagged internally as a trust violation risk. And yet, they took that Steele dossier, which they knew was bunk, which was fed to them by Michael Sussman, Hillary Clinton's lawyer, so that the FBI leaked it to Yahoo News, so they wrote a report on it, and then they went back to the judge and said, look what the media is reporting. We need to go get a FISA warrant, spy warrant. They knew it. Again, nothing new, but the extent of their knowledge is corrupt, to put it mildly. FBI agents relied on verbal certifications instead of actual record access due to technical failures. Basically, they weren't doing their job. Steele discussed active U.S. investigations with media and foreign officials while he was a confidential human source. I mean, basically, the FBI doesn't do their job properly. Explicit suppressions of FISA-relevant source risk flags. This is the biggest one ever. What's my tweet on this? I put the tweet up right before we went live just to tease the audience a little bit so you'd come. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest one of the bunch. They knew. And then the problem is, okay, now we all know. Now you have the black and white evidence that we know, and yet most people are going to say nothing's going to happen. Life goes on. The same people who did this are still in positions of power. Adam Schiff for Brains McSchiffface, who came out and lied to the American people, knowing that his lie could not be contradicted without the people of the committee violating the confidentiality of that committee, said smoking gun evidence of Russia collusion. Not only did it not exist, he knew it did not exist when he said it. And the reason for which he made that lie was because nobody could contradict that lie without violating their obligations of confidentiality. This is the bombshell, as far as I'm concerned, and I thank Encryptus for being able to find it in the slew of documents that are unreadable with a Control F. In this document from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, that's the FBI, quarterly supervisory source report. Sorry, my eyes are really bad. At the top, did the confidential human source engage in unauthorized criminal activity? No. Is the confidential human source currently or expected to become subject of investigation or prosecution by FPO? What would that be? Field police officer? I don't know what that is. Or state or local prosecutor's office? No. Previously testified? No. CHS expected to testify? Hell no. CHS involved in certain federal judicial proceedings? Not yet. No, nor will he be because he's a protected CHS. Will the CHS potentially obtain, provide privileged or exculpatory information? No. Has the CHS been or is expected to be named in an electronic surveillance application? No. Has the CHS provided information to support probable cause in a FISA application? The CHS, confidential human source, which was Michael Steele, on whom they relied for the Steele dossier, by their own internal assessment, provided no probable cause for a FISA application. And yet they went ahead with it anyhow. Now I can steelman this and I'll say, look, it's not, you don't only get your probable cause from a CHS. You get it from an ecosystem, from other people who might say there's probable cause, even though the man who drafted the report upon which these FISA warrants were based says there's no probable cause. Maybe he doesn't know. He's not a lawyer. He's not an FBI agent. He's just a lowly confidential human source that manufactures fake reports with made up rubbish in it that was financed by the Clinton campaign and the DNC, and then they lied and fudged the numbers in terms of them paying for that report. Encryptus, while I'm talking about this, can you find that article which shows that the DNC and Hillary Clinton paid for the Steele dossier, lied about it, committed the actual crime for which Donald Trump was bullshittedly convicted in New York. They actually did it. They actually financed that report, lied about it, concealed the fact that they paid for that report. And when they got outed for it, you know what their fine was? I think Hillary Clinton got an $8,000 fine and the DNC got a $132,000 fine. Does that sound right, Encryptus? I have a pretty decent recall when I've repeated it to myself a sufficient amount of times that it's fresh in my mind. FEC fines Hillary Clinton campaign and DNC over Trump-related dossier research. A federal election regulator fined Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign and the DNC earlier this month for not properly disclosing the money they spent on controversial opposition research that led to the infamous Trump-Russia dossier. This is how they described it in 2022. Holy crab apples, do you have to be dishonest for that? The DNC was fined $105,000 and the Clinton campaign was fined $8,000, according to a letter sent by the FEC to a conservative group that requested the inquiry. The dossier was compiled by retired British spy Christopher Steele. It contained unverified and salacious allegations, all bullshit. The money trail behind the Steele dossier has been the subject of intense political scrutiny for years. More than $1 million flowed from the Clinton campaign and the DNC to the law firm Perkins Coie. Who was involved in that? Encryptus, can you fact check me on this one also? I think it's Mark Elias that was involved in that, which is why Robert Barnes calls him a money launderer.
Yeah, I don't have to fact check that. That's 100% true.
Which then hired the opposition research company Fusion GPS. That company hired Steele and asked him to use overseas contacts to dig up dirt on Russia. And the rest, as we now know, is corrupt history. But what does it matter? What difference does it make at this point? Like Ben Shapiro saying, what difference does it make who killed JFK? Hillary Clinton saying, what difference does it make how they died in Benghazi? People are going to say, what difference does it make? This is water under the bridge. Trump got reelected. Forgive and forget, or just move on. Or it's not really corruption. It's just good politics. That's what's going on with Operation Crossfire Hurricane. Encryptus, what do you want to add on this? Because I know that you've been looking at this all morning as well.
Basically, you've covered most of it. There's a lot of dirty money in this. There's a lot of evidence that the administration inside the FBI not only allowed this, but helped push it. They used the documents that they knew to be false to get those FISA applications. They got to use the same evidence to renew those FISA applications. Everything here was dirty. Another interesting tidbit was Christopher Steele was found in Russia talking to Russian officials during the middle of all of this. And at the point in time, he ditched FBI surveillance and was unable to be tracked at that time when he went into government official buildings.
You know what, Encryptus, when you're talking, if you don't bring up your camera, I'm gonna have to bring up this picture next time. We're just gonna have this is gonna be the face of Encryptus, and we'll put like a little mouth, like a tete-a-clack thing in it, so that I'm joking. This is the problem, is that this was known. I mean, this was known to everybody who's been paying attention. Now you just have the cold hard receipts. But the fact that Durham, in his report, did he bury it or did he just gloss over it? They did not emphasize this because there's a reason why they were demoralized within the FBI when Kash Patel was appointed and when Trump won the election. They knew this for the last better part of nearly a decade now. And now those of us who knew and those of us who were following it, it's nothing wildly revelatory. And for those who don't care, they just will not care. And so we'll keep looking through it. And the documents that are truly astonishing, we're gonna put them on blast. And the other thing I was about to say is that there's going to be more declassification. That's Operation Crossfire Hurricane.